This podcast is on lab safety. There are some general safety rules that apply to chemistry labs as well as to all science labs. And the first general safety rule is to actually know what is going on. So you want to listen to or read the instructions before you begin anything. When you're in the lab, you must wear your safety goggles. And you must also notify your teacher if any spills or accidents occur. Those are the three basic beginning rules. Also, after you've handled anything in the lab, chemicals, whatever, you should wash your hands with soap and water before you leave. When you're working, keep your hands away from your face and away from your hair. Indeed, you should tie back long hair, roll up long sleeves, just be neat and tidy. You should know the location of the fire extinguisher, the fire blanket, the eye wash station, the first aid kit, everything. And the area where you work really needs to stay uncluttered. Take to the lab station only what's necessary. Pull out of your drawer or cupboard only those things that you absolutely need. It is suggested that if you wear contact lenses, you should wear your glasses when it's lab day. You put the goggles over top of the glasses. It's also suggested that you only wear closed-toed shoes. Now, never put anything into your mouth during a lab experiment, including your fingers. That's a really hard one for some people. And when you're done, you want to clean up your area so that the next people coming in have a neat space to work. And your own stuff would be clean for the next lab, the next time you have lab. Of course, you should never horse around or play practical jokes in the laboratory. That would be grounds for disciplinary action. Now, specific safety. Glassware. If glassware is chipped or clacked, it shouldn't be used. You should show it to your teacher. And then it should go into the glass disposal container, not into the regular trash. You don't throw broken glass into the regular trash at home, and you shouldn't at school either. When you're pouring liquids into glassware, make sure that the container you're pouring into is resting on the table and it's away from the edge of the table so that it can't slip off, get knocked off, whatever. You might want to pour down a glass stirring rod to prevent liquids from spattering. Okay? If a piece of glassware does get broken, don't try to clean it up yourself. Notify the teacher. Now, if you have to insert glass tubing into a rubber stopper, you want to use glycerin to help it go through. This is one of the more common activities where accidents occur, and I'm not sure we'll be doing this year. Remember, however, that hot glassware looks just like cold glassware, and you should never place hot glass into water. It may actually shatter. Now, chemical safety. Goggles. Also, never mix chemicals together unless you're told to do so, and then only mix them in the way that the instructions or your teacher has told you to do it. Of course, you should never taste anything in a lab. That, I hope, is just pure common sense. If you need to smell the odor of a chemical, don't put your nose down to it. Okay? You want to wave your hand and waft the fumes toward you. You only need one small little whiff to know what it is. And never pour water into acid. Acid should always be poured into water. Acid and water react and it gets hot. Pouring the acid into the water means that it's not going to get too hot. When it comes time to finish the lab, please follow the instructions of your teacher for disposing of all chemicals. Some can be flushed down the drain, but some are collected. And again, wash your hands after handling any chemicals before you leave the room. Now, electrical safety. If you're using a hot plate or something that has a cord, you want to put the cord where no one can trip on them or get caught in them. Be careful about where the cords are. Be sure your hands in your lab area are dry before you use electrical equipment. You don't use the hairdryer in the bathtub. Same thing goes here. And obviously never stick anything into the electrical outlets. When it's time to unplug, please grab the plug and not the cord. And unplug all electrical equipment at the end of your lab period. Let burners and hot plates cool down before you touch them. If you want to test to see if they're cool enough, you put the backside of your hand close to them. If it feels uncomfortably warm, you realize you can't do anything with it. And use tongs and or protective gloves, the hot mitt, to handle hot objects. And if you're having to reach for something, be careful. Don't reach across an open flame or a burner for obvious reasons. The only type of glassware that may be safely heated is called Kimax or Pyrex, or Kemax or Pyrex. And if you have other glasses and you're unsure, you should not heat them. Okay? When you're heating test tubes, point the top end of the test tube away from people towards the center part of your lab bench or towards the walls. Move it around to let the heat be distributed evenly, because if you don't, it can get too hot. Only glassware that is thoroughly dry should be heated if you're heating glassware. If there's small specks of water inside it, you may have some issues. Heat it by placing on a wire guide platform or on a ring. Don't hold it in your hand. Hot glass will conduct the heat very quickly. When you're lighting a burner, put the striker in place, turn on the gas, then strike it. Remember that the amount of air can be adjusted by the air supply valve below the tube of the burner. That regulates the flame and temperature color. Usually you have enough gas coming through. Never leave a burner or a hot plate unattended. Again, remember, hot plates, when they're hot, look the same as when they're cold. Now, first aid. Prevention is the best first aid. In other words, don't have an accident. Be careful in the lab. Go slow. If someone around you is injured, please notify the teacher and then take steps to help yourself or the injured person. Here are some guidelines. For burns, flush with lukewarm, tepid water until the burning sensation is lessened. If you have a cut or a bruise, don't touch it without safety gloves. You want to press directly on minor cuts to stop the bleeding. In a few minutes, cold compresses will reduce swelling. Again, after you've told your teacher, take care of it. If someone faints, you want to provide fresh air. Have the person lie down or recline so their head is lower than the rest of the body. Blood will flow and they should probably be okay. If you injure your eyes, say some chemicals splash into the eyes, flush them immediately with plenty of water for several minutes. Some people say even 15 minutes. If you think there's a foreign object stuck in the eye, try and prevent the person from rubbing their eyes, or if it's you, don't rub your eyes. If you suspect someone has swallowed something accidentally, you find out what it was, tell your teacher. If you spill something on your skin, large quantities of water. If you have an acid spill and you know it's acid, you might want to apply a baking soda solution. For a base spill, you might want to apply some vinegar, but in general, large quantities of water are the best. If someone gets an electric shock, you want to shut off the current at the source, okay? And make sure that your hands are dry when you're touching the electrical panel, and alert the teacher immediately. Usually if there's an electrical shock, the ground fault breaker will go, and that's probably not going to be